Wasn't a bad career, was it, Roy? 15 major trophies, but it all started as a schoolboy footballer in Ireland. What type of player were you back then?
Pretty average, I have to say, when I was growing up. And the one word I would always kind of look back on my own career was I had a lot of luck. I had fierce luck. Even growing up, the people I grew up with, the era I grew up with, sport, obsessed with sport. Obviously soccer was my first love, but I tried other sports. Played for a really good schoolboy team called Rockmount. Played there for about 9 or 10 years, loved it. Worked with some brilliant managers and really good players. Had a year League of Ireland, which was a great education for me. And then got the dream move to Forest, went to the right club at the right time, and obviously worked for a genius in Brian Clough. Forest was just a club that suited me down to the ground, nice city. I lived in good digs with some good lads, right next to the city ground. I loved all the coaches there. The message to the players was all very, very simple, which suited me. So very, very lucky. Went into a dressing room when I eventually got in the first team. Des Walker, Stuart Pearce, Nigel Clough, good pros, well, great pros actually. So I was very, very lucky.
Tell us about how you found out you were making your debut for Forest.
Well, again, loads of luck. I went over pre-season, was obviously doing kind of training with the reserves. I think Forest had played the first league game at home on the Saturday. QPR went to watch it. I was on the bench for the reserves on the Monday night. Got on for the last 10 minutes, and the first team were playing Liverpool on the Tuesday night. So I got 10 minutes for the reserves on the Monday. Went out that night with the players, as you do after the reserve match. Just, I didn't drink too much, maybe 6-7 pints after the game, and came in on the Tuesday and was told, get your stuff. Me and Phil Starbuck, you're going up to Anfield, which was great, because what Brian Clough used to do a lot of times with some of the younger players, bring you with the first team as an experience and just carry the skips, help the kit man. So I went up, met some of the players in the hotel, went to Anfield, and was putting the gear out with the kit man. Brian Clough said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm just putting the gear out." He says, "No, put that top on." And he gave me a bit of advice before the game, which I basically made a career out of it. He says, "I've seen you pre-season." I said, "Yeah." He says, "You can control the ball. You can pass it and you can move." I said, "Yeah, I can do them three things." He said, "We'll just do that tonight." And that was my career in a nutshell: control, pass it and move. And people always nod their head when I say that, as if you're a professional footballer, you should be able to do them three things, but believe it or not, a lot of players can't. They can't do them three things. So I was...
Where did you speak about him being like a genius? Was that just through his simplicity?
I think so, Jim, definitely. I think so. Obviously his knowledge of the game. But I loved the simple messages he used to give me. And to be fair, Alex Ferguson was the same. I don't ever remember having a conversation or being given an instruction by Brian Clough or Alex Ferguson and being confused by him, going, I really don't get what you're coming from. It's very, very straightforward about my own game, the way they looked after me, the way they, I suppose, managed me. And when you're a young player, you don't want too many instructions. I see a lot of managers now on the sideline. There's an obsession with talking and giving instructions. I knew what suited me, and that was, again, I keep it simple. What I used to say to myself, even in games, keep it simple, stupid. Just keep the game simple. Pass it and move and run, and obviously try and be a decent teammate. Of course, when I went to United, then of course, when you started playing in Europe, the intensity went up, and of course you had to pass it quicker, etc. Blah blah blah. But again, I went to United at the right time. Looking back, they just won the league, went into a brilliant dressing room, great characters, huge expectation, huge pressure. But I suppose I loved United the day I walked in there. I just loved it. I settled in pretty quickly. Again, brilliant dressing room, great characters.
Roy, you mentioned Alex Ferguson there. And listen, it's been well documented.
Yeah.
Fallout, that's life, that happens.
Yeah.
But could you give us a bit of insight into actually your relationship in those years you're talking about? You're the captain, he's that manager, that relationship when you're going for 99, you're going for leagues. Was it just a manager-player relationship,
Definitely,
or was it a bit more because of captain?
No, I don't think it was, and I think we kept it that way. I remember when I first went to United, we trained at the Clough, and I know some of the senior players would go upstairs and almost have a cup of tea with Alex Ferguson, and some of the other coaching staff, Rob would be up there, Brucey, Pally, and they'd be all having a chit-chat. I never wanted that relationship with any manager I worked under. I never wanted to have a cup of tea and a bit of chit-chat. So when I did become the manager, I think our relationship was, if I want to analyse it, I think we really both loved and wanted to do what was best for Man United, and there was huge respect between us. unfortunately, that was probably lost at the end. But ultimately, I look back at my time working for Alex Ferguson, and he was a brilliant manager, absolutely brilliant, and very, very good to me. There's no getting away from that. And it doesn't kind of take away from my career at United. 12 and a half years was fantastic. Yeah, as you said, these things happen towards the end. But I was never this. I never felt I was in with Alex Ferguson, or because I was captain, we're, pals. Never. I always kept it pure, kind of professional. And this idea of having a cup of tea upstairs in the canteen and a biscuit, not for me.
Were you similar personalities, you think?
I don't know. I just think we both. I think we both, obviously, we love winning. We both wanted the best for Man United. I know he was critical towards me at the end, almost saying I was running the dressing room, but I was. Senior players run the dressing room because, as you know, at club level, managers are very rarely in the dressing room, at the training ground particularly. And you ask any of the senior players, when I was at Forest, Stuart Pearce, Des would organise it. When I first went to Man United, Robbo, Brucey, Eric, they'd be organising stuff. They'd be running it. Senior players ultimately run the dressing room. So that kind of role fell on me as I was getting older, of course. And I was playing more games, and there'd be Giggsy would be there, and Gary, and we'd be discussing all sorts as senior players. And I'm talking about trivia stuff like the players' pool, Christmas functions, tickets for matches. So that all just, came into was part of my role. But I still don't think I ever kind of crossed that line with anybody where I felt I was kind of more important than the other players, or I would question anything at the club. No, I was there to try and obviously help people, drive people on. Did I make mistakes and get a few calls wrong? Probably, yeah. But I also like to think I've got a few things right in terms of trying to help players, motivate them, train properly, etc. The whole things that you're supposed to do anyway.
Did you feel it was your job to discipline the others as well?
No, I wouldn't go that far. No, but I think part of my job of any senior player at the club, and you don't have to be a captain to try and do that. It was just as a senior player, you would have to try and set good examples. And what people probably would be critical of me when I was a player, a lot of people would say, and I hear a lot of players saying with their stories, a lot are exaggerated. I was very hard on them, and we used to train properly, and I expected people to be on time, and we give it all for the club. And I thought, yeah, that's what I was supposed to do. But I wasn't necessarily there to. I was there to win at Man United. I wasn't there to be pals with everybody. I wasn't a great one for speeches. I tried to lead by example, and a lot of my talks, if I was ever given to the players, would be before games, and it'd be something trivial. I remember there'd be certain games you go, hey lads, remember who we are, we're Man United, don't forget that, we're here to win, and that would be it. I never felt my role was more important than what it was, but I knew I had to train properly, I had to try and drive people on, keep people focused, don't be distracted by off the field stuff, and that's what I used to try and pass on to players.
Was that then part of the genius of Sir Alex Ferguson? We hear a lot about the hairdryer, but was it with him a case of saying the right things at the right time?
Dead right. I have to say, I think the brilliance between Alex Ferguson and Brian Clough, you'd be in a situation, my situation before the game, half-time, I always felt they said the right thing at the right time, just what the team needed, just what a player needed. And you just go, I'd be sitting there, and as I was getting older, I'd be analysing and going, where they're going to come, what do I think the players might need? And they would always get it spot on. They'd always say the right thing. You go, it's brilliant. Brilliant what they've just said there. You know about the hairdryer treatment. I never really had the hairdryer for a performance. You might give me a hairdryer for an off-the-field incident. But the worst thing that I always felt, that the players had huge respect for Alex Ferguson. You didn't want to let him down, ultimately. You wanted to go and give your all. He said to me one day, we were playing a game, and I was really poor. I might have been Aston Villa at home, and I was really bad. And he came in at half-time, you're on about hairdryer. Forget the hairdryer. He just looked at me and went, right. And the disappointment in his face, I remember going, I was like a dagger in your heart, I'm letting this man down here, and I'm letting my club down. So it wasn't always about the hairdryer. Again, these stories can grow legs. Sometimes there's that look, you're going, come on. So that's why I thought them two managers in particular were brilliant.
Not a bad couple of managers to work for.